So this time around, I wanted to take a second and make a topic out of something that I saw on the wonderful, ever righteous land of Twitter, and how it has progressed, I guess. There was this one profile called Live Action, and they posted something regarding the A word that I do not wish to mention, but you guys are going to figure out what it is. And pretty much they are saying that the core mission of this clinic that tends to support individuals of low income with the initials PP, and you guys can pretty much piece that together the more that I progress into the topic, because YouTube just doesn't like it when we have serious and important conversations. That is the core mission of this so-called clinic, which is the A word procedure actually is not their main service. Women go there to get other services, and the A word service is actually, I think it's the thing that they serve the least. But anyways, I would have to brush up on my facts because it's been a while since I looked into it, and it is subject to change. It is possible that in the time that I have been uh, out of the loop with it, it has changed. Maybe that has proliferated and I'm unaware. So just know that I do not ever really bother to look into the stuff because I like to present in here my initial impressions on a matter and the opinion that I currently possess prior to being influenced into changing it. So that's what I wish that the people who meet me on Twitter would know ahead of time. But of course, you don't know. You immediately judge the person by the 5 seconds that it took that person to type up a tweet. But, anyways, but we'll get there when we get there when it comes to the issue of taxes. And then basically, the live action profile shows a video of how the A word diagram. I thought, well, that looks like a pretty grown fetus. It looks like near the end of a pregnancy. And then I said, I'm pretty sure abortions do not happen that far into the pregnancy. And my mistake when I said that statement was not saying that abortions rarely happen during that stage. Or I'm pretty sure that that coming after me. And someone simply said to me about 50% of them do, to which another user replies with, that's a lie, only 20% do. And basically, this turned into a back and forth, and I honestly had the time. I didn't have anything really important going on my day off, so I said, let me interact with some strangers on a different platform. And then the original person who told me that 50% do says it's around 34%, as this is around a 9 to 10 week old child. And she cited some website called Gut Matcher. I'm not sure what that is. But it's pretty much a fact sheet. And then I said, yeah, for an abortion to be performed that far into a pregnancy, it would have to be induced due to a risk of some sort being determined. And the reason I say that is because usually people do not go 6, 7, 8, 9 months into a pregnancy and say, you know what? I changed my mind. I want to get rid of this kid. No. Something extreme needs to happen to maybe scare the crap out of a woman, or maybe a very small percentage of time this is the case, but sometimes it is a threat to the mother and the child. It is rare that both the mother and the child the child are in danger when it comes to the time to give birth and whatnot. But it is not unheard of. And in the same manner that they say that it's one too many times to abort one kid, I'm thinking it's one too many times that you are forcing someone to carry out a pregnancy when their lives and the child's are at stake. So why do I deserve to choose to die along with my child? Both of us did. And also, not everyone can handle that challenging, dangerous, difficult task of childbearing. So if someone suddenly determines and decides that they are not in the shape for it, either physically or mentally and emotionally, I think a person can consider this ultimate act as insane and damaging and hurtful and ugly as it is, because we cannot force someone to carry out something that they do not feel up for. That would be us as a society being cruel to that person. And of course, remember that anything that I say is just my opinion, my views, my thoughts. I'm not trying to say that if you do not agree with my views, your opinion is inferior to mine. I am mature enough to not think that what I think is the absolute right mind to have. I know that there's some stuff that I could be better in. Maybe this is one of them, but I have my reasons for being semi pro life, semi pro choice. And the reason I say semi is because if it happened to me, I would not want to abort, only because if I'm getting laid in the first place, let me tell you, it's because I am with a guy that I actually like and enjoy, and nothing would make me happier than having mini him to hold in my arms, whether I'm ready for him or not. But at the same time, I'm also making decisions and sacrifices to not end up in a position in which I may have to consider such a thing. I cannot say that I will forever be immune to it, because what if I become so me, I will more than likely opt for keeping that offspring more than getting rid of it, because I do not like to associate children with being something that gets in the way. But let's face it, having a child is difficult. So it is okay for you to admit that your life will be complicated by this, and that you may not be in the shape physically, mentally, or emotionally for it. And at the same time, I am not the one to sit here and tell you how it is that you should conduct your sexual life. If that's something that you want to do and you decide that you don't want to be protected, all right, it's a decision you made, it's a risk that you're taking. Now, if you're trying to abort, just like with everything, there are consequences associated with that action. In the same manner that there are consequences associated with binge drinking, smoking, etc., etc. No, I'm not expecting. I don't think I would be having the time to do these streams if I were expecting. But anyways, pretty much long story short, I tweeted out something that a bunch of people on Twitter disagreed with, and then I'm sitting here just explaining what happened and why I think the way that I think. This is pretty much continuing the stream that I did about a year ago. When it comes to this issue, 50% of you guys in here were with me, 50% of you guys in here were not with me. And then there were a couple who even said, "Oh, mom, stop judge me just because I'm not compatible with you with one little thing. You're not a genuine person that I need to have present in my life, because you cannot tolerate people who are different. Your interests do not have to be my interests. So if that's your call, go ahead and make it, embrace it, take it, whatever. But do not try to threaten me with like unsubs, because I do this because I enjoy to do this. I don't do this to get popular and to get filthy rich. All right. So I'm not going to sit here and try to take on a stance that I genuinely do not feel. So, anyways, I said also, it's not a A woman never mind this. And then this user goes, a lot of women have decided to do it for that reason. There are certain cases. And once again, she cited something, this time from abort73.com. And then I said, not saying it is non-existent. Everything in life is possible, and there will always be exceptions to the rule. But in the grand scheme of things, we are all right. If I had to guess, one would refer to such tactics when they lack support, financial or emotional. And then this person said about the 50%. I also said citation needed, that 50% of abortions do happen that far into the pregnancy, which is about, I was estimating that that child is near the end of the gestation period from how big it looked on the diagram. And then the person admits that they made an error, that the actual number, according to a website called Gut Macher, whatever the fuck, .org, induced abortion in the United States is actually 34.1%. So after that, I also said, someone, sorry, actually said 89% of abortions occur in the first 12 weeks, so yeah, not that far. And that is only one technique, induced abortion, the one that fake profile supporters like to show the most. Between 8 and 12 weeks, a lot happens. They grow every body part, sex is determined, and every organ is functional except the lungs and some of the brain. Nope, the fetus is fully formed only after 12 weeks, says the other user. That's why also European laws allow abortions up to 10 to 12 weeks. And that makes sense because 3 months is severely different from like 7, 8, 9 months. And then this other person said, nah, get informed, dude. And definitely they do not look like the picture. In week 7 and 9 and 12, only after week 12 the fetus considered fully formed. And then someone else replied to my original statement saying, let me tell you, I am going to sound like I do not have a soul, but if my reception allows it, just stick with me and hopefully you guys will understand where I am trying to go. Like, I'm not saying, hell yeah, murder babies, that's what I'm after, all right? Nothing like that. It's just that I can understand human nature well enough to be impartial enough, but at the same time, being able to take a side depending on circumstance. Sometimes I can be pro-choice, sometimes I can be pro-life, because I see both sides. Both are right, but in the same manner, both are wrong. There is something wrong with both sides of the argument. And I am not afraid to explore that and explain it. So, of course, the pro-life movement is pretty much all about the sanctity of life. Like, all life is valuable and all life is this and that. So, I even went as far as exploring what the Bible may possibly say about this issue. And it is actually more messy than it seems on the surface. So anyways, we'll keep going. Then this person kept saying, I actually just got done taking a college course on fetal development, and I said, that's good. I just know that the situation is not as scary and serious as it's portrayed. Otherwise, most of us wouldn't be alive. The person goes, this is only one type of abortion. While I am against abortion, I believe that it had to be legal either way, just because making it illegal would vastly increase women's injuries from abortion due to unsafe abortions. There are other safer procedures, but this kind is for later abortions. And then I say, I understand that. Really, my issue is when this is presented as an epidemic. Like, absolutely every single woman ever is saying, I don't want this baby. The reality is abortions this far into gestation are still considerably rare and even on the decline. I would also be interested in discussing the emotional consequences of abortion. So that's the end of that thread, pretty much. And then some more people Oh, I didn't see this reply just yet, but someone says, "You are a fucking idiot who has never researched abortion or what a fetus looks like inside a womb. Shut the fuck up. 90% of people of she you need to resort to insulting the other person you are conversing with. You're no longer worthy of having a discussion with. I'm just gonna say it like that because why not? However, I'm just gonna say like calm down. Like just calm down. Calm down. However, you just what can I say? Stated my whole point, which which I was discussing later pregnancies, not earlier ones. And I love how Twitter, I don't know what's up with Twitter, but it had like some kind of trigger warning to where it said that the following tweet may contain sensitive information or something. But honestly, because I have the time, that's why I engage in this. But usually, people like that who give me an attitude, it's like, nah, it's hate that my reception keeps going bad. But this is being measured in, like, is it for every million women, nine of those, but anyways, it's still a relatively small number of the population. And then a lot of women have decided to do it for that reason, blah blah blah. That's what I just read. And then that's the other person replying, that's the other person replying, blah blah blah. You're going to tell me to get informed, you yourself contribute the information to me. So then to him, I ended up replying with, what is a fact is that they are so rare, so late in that gestation stage, it's insignificant and is also on the decline. So because I kept saying that the matter is actually pretty insignificant given how rare it is, people kept saying, oh, one time is too many. And no, it is not insignificant. How can you think that way? Because this is a human life that we're talking about. But I promise you that I'm going to get into the details of it later. And then someone else really kindly, baby is born. And well, yes, they do. Just ask some lady she mentioned. And then I'm like, they happen, but they are so rare, it's insignificant. A healthy 7 months Planned Parenthood and defied the odds by surviving, and all you can come up with is it is rare and insignificant. And then I said, so opting to terminate your own offspring is not all that shocking when we got other equally disgusting issues happening to those who have been born already. What about their rights? How are we better? So until we get on equal terms, this thing will remain insignificant. And what I mean by that is when we are alive and we have to worry about bullshit like climate change, our food being poisoned, getting hunted down for our religious beliefs, our orientation beliefs, etc. How are we righteous creatures to the point that now we have to be condemning abortion? Like human nature is not righteous. Human nature is not. When I have discussions about sensitive matters like this with people and they give me emotional responses, no, I want you to explore the actual nature of the human and why some humans can actually have the guts to carry out this deed. Like, we are not creatures that are all about love and affection and care and sympathy and all that, especially when we still have issues with stuff like racism. You know what I'm saying? Like, we cannot even trust what we eat. We cannot trust the offspring. In the grand scheme of things, that happens pretty rare compared to how these other issues in our, let's call it the planet, the environment, affects those of us who have actually made it to be alive. Why are we dismissing our issues? You know? And on top of that, if you want to break it down even more clearly, when you are pregnant, you of getting rid of our own that is to raise kids, of course, you have money. You need to have money. You need to have lots of money if you want to be stable. So, civilization created a problem that we were not designed to fix. So, if someone is aborting because they want to, physically incapable of obtaining your resources with the ease that you used to. So, I'm making that connection only because I like to think in ways that people don't seem to be thinking very commonly, or at least I don't hear anybody else making those comparisons. So maybe that doesn't offend me because I'm actually pretty that metaphorically with I am remaining fit within society. And physically, of course, I'm still remaining fit. Although this abortion procedure can affect you physically, but at least the consequences of it when it's done early on are pretty much minimal. Abortions are still a pretty safe procedure. In the same manner that giving birth is a difficult thing, and giving birth in general is an unsafe thing. It is a dangerous thing. That's why you need assistance. That's why you need a doctor. That's why you need a midwife if you have access to it. So again, this is just me daring to challenge that. At the same time, eventually I will get to why, maybe, or excuse me, pro-life or pro-choice. But anyways, someone also said, really ever hear of partial birth abortion? And someone else says, a 9 to 10 week old fetus looks nothing like what is shown in that video, but keep lying to yourself because feelings. And then someone goes, the only real difference is the skin looks a little different and it's smaller. Someone else says, oh yeah, they sure do. And again, my mistake was that I said that abortions, I'm pretty sure abortions do not happen that far into pregnancy, as opposed to saying, I'm pretty sure that abortions happening that far into pregnancy are pretty rare. But at the same time, I do not regret the fact that I put it like that because I thought that people would understand that I understand that everything in life is possible. So I am not naive to think that they never happen. I never used the word never in my initial tweet. I said that what I was implying was that they don't happen with enough frequency for it to be a big deal. But people want to focus on the fact that one time is too many. And I'm like, no, you need to stop letting your feelings get in the way. You're not having a rational discussion with me. But anyways, someone else goes, thank God it's declining, but I believe they are still talking because it's not yet down to zero. That's right. And then some person goes, then you would be pretty wrong. And then this guy, we're still replying as of right now. But he said, no, you are pretty wrong. The most recent statistics available from the U.S. Centers for Disease. The picture that he shows me, I reply with literally the most insignificant percentage. The scariest part corresponds to greater than 3 months. They are so rare that one could say they don't happen enough to be a major cause of concern. If the percentage were, I don't know, 20%, okay, people need to get their mind straight. And pretty much I highlighted the following digits. Abortions that happen at or fewer less than 8 weeks are 24.6%. The ones that were performed by surgical abortion at less than 13 weeks were 64.3%. And then 8.8% were performed by surgical abortion at 13 weeks or more. More than 13 weeks. And then 35.8% were at or less than 8 weeks when it comes to the ones completed on the basis of gestational age via medical abortion. So, literally, the smallest number, 8.8, corresponded to the point that I was referring to, which is they do not happen that far into abortion. So, anyways, the guy kept going and said, um, you said in your post abortions don't happen that far into pregnancy. You know, I could remind you of what you said by showing a picture of your text, and then shows me a picture of my text. And I said, I knew you were going to say that. I know what I said. In my statement, it makes it sound like I'm saying they never happen. I say it like that because they don't happen like that, and let me add a modifier to assist you regularly that far into a pregnancy. And then he goes, let me add a comment to assist you. If this happens one time, it's one time too many. And then I say, and what, may I ask, are the typical reasons why the one too many phenomenon occurs? He did not reply to that, but he did keep replying to some other things. And then the other person goes, this is the only type of abortion. While I am against abortion, I do believe. Okay, I already read that. Already read that. I hate Twitter, and it's like threading because sometimes it gets lost. But, anyways, I'll find myself. Okay. To the last thing that I mentioned, he said, let me add a comment, blah, blah, blah. And then tearing babies out of their mother's wombs and them libs complain about immigrant children being separated from their families. And then I say, for the comfort of your soul, I am happy to report that the number of induced abortions that happen that far into gestation are actually on the decline. And then to his comment about tearing babies out of the mother's wombs and complaining about immigrant children being separated from families, I said, no. A pregnancy that has progressed that far is only terminated when a high risk is determined, such as the possibility of mortality. It is either to keep the mother alive and avoid a disastrous delivery or lose both the baby and the mother. Because again, don't forget, giving birth is actually something very dangerous and risky. And then he goes, please show me proof. And then I couldn't find the source I wanted to show for the ones that are conducted to avoid fatality on both the mother and fetus. But I found two noteworthy things. And then the first one pretty much mentions when abortions occur, which is 89% of abortions happen in the first trimester. And then the other one is the U.S. abortion rate continues to decline, hitting its historic low. So, anyways, and then that kept going and kept going and kept going and going. And then, let's see. What better source to use than but the US government CDC? I'm quite sure it is staffed predominantly by Democrat liberals. The health of the mother and non-viability of the child is seldom the reason for abortions unless you call Down syndrome's the reason for abortion. And then I said, at the end of the day, the medical field has had ethical issues since its dawn. I do not think this is the most heinous thing that happens with significant frequency. Whatever the reasons may be for abortion, I think that is the individual's business and we shouldn't intervene. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. Tell people to stop getting laid. It's an instinct and impulse we have, whether they can handle the consequences or not. What they ultimately choose to do is their problem. It won't keep me up at night. I guarantee that they're not going to end up pregnant. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then I said, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. However, there is the rights of that. And then he goes, I would generally agree. Ho you may say, well, you should practice abstinence. You cannot tell people to deprive and need. You were designed to feel that way for a reason. So, anyways, I want to jump now. I want to exit the thread for a little bit and then positions for and against abortion that thought since life begins at conception, abortion is akin to murder, and it is the act of taking a human life. Abortion is in direct defiance of the commonly accepted idea of the sanctity of human life. No civilized society permits one human to intentionally harm or take the life of another human without punishment, and abortion is no different. Adoption is a viable alternative to abortion, and adoption is a viable alternative to abortion and accomplishes the same result. And with 1.5 million American families wanting to adopt a child, there is no such thing as an unwanted child. An abortion can result in medical complications later in life. The risk of ectopic pregnancies doubles, and the chance of a miscarriage and pelvic inflammatory disease also increases. In the instance of rape and incest, proper medical care can ensure that a woman will not get pregnant. Abortion punishes the unborn child who committed no crime. Instead, it is the perpetrator who should be punished. Abortion should not be used as another form of contraception. For women who demand complete control of their body, control should include preventing the risk of unwanted pregnancy through the responsible use of contraception or, if that is not possible, abstinence. Many Americans who pay taxes are opposed to abortion, therefore, it is morally wrong to use tax dollars to fund abortion. Those who choose abortions are often minors or young women with insufficient life experience to understand fully what they are doing. Many have lifelong regrets afterward. Abortion frequently causes intense psychological pain and stress. Now, here come the pro choice arguments. Nearly all abortions take place in the first trimester when a fetus is attached by the placenta and umbilical cord to the mother. As such, its health is dependent on her health and cannot be regarded as a separate entity, as it cannot exist outside of her womb. The concept of personhood is different from the concept of human life. Human life occurs at conception, but fertilized eggs used for in vitro fertilization are also human lives, and those not implanted are routinely thrown away. Is this murder? And if not, then how is abortion murder? Good point. Adoption is not an alternative to abortion because it remains the woman's choice whether or not to give her child up for adoption. Statistics show that very few women who give birth choose to give up their babies. Less than 3% for white unmarried women and less than 2% for black unmarried women. So as you can see, no woman wants to go through 9 months of arduous tasks being pregnant and then all of a sudden in the end be like, here, have this child. No, that just does not happen. So stuff like that is what makes me be like, you know what? If some people cannot handle the task of pregnancy, who are we to tell them you have to carry this out? But anyway, abortion is a safe medical procedure. The vast majority of women, 88% who have an abortion, do so in the first trimester. Medical abortions have less than 0.5% risk of serious complications and do not affect a woman's health or future ability to become pregnant or give birth. So right there, it doesn't seem like the sciences align. Pro-lifers say that you will mess your body up, which, let's face it, any medical procedure can leave you with consequences. But also this says that it's actually pretty safe to do. So right there we have a contradiction that we need to arrive at a conclusion. What's right and what isn't. In the case of rape or incest, forcing a woman made pregnant by this violent act would cause further psychological harm to the victim. Often a woman is too afraid to speak up or is unaware she is pregnant, thus the morning after pill is ineffective in these situations. Abortion is not used. Women who have abortions do not use any form of birth control, and that is due to individual carelessness than to the availability of abortion. The ability of a woman to have control of her body is critical to civil rights. Taking away her reproductive choice, a new step into a slippery slope. If the government can force a woman to continue pregnancy. What about forcing a woman to use contraception or undergo sterilization? Taxpayer dollars are used to enable poor women to access the same medical services as rich women, and abortion is one of those services. Funding abortion is no different from funding a war in the Mid East. For those who are opposed, the place to express outrage is in the voting booth. I flipped that. Teenagers who become mothers have grim prospects for the future. They are much more likely to leave school, receive inadequate prenatal care, rely on public assistance to raise a child, develop health problems, or end up divorced. Like any other difficult situation, abortion creates stress, yet the American Psychological Association found that stress was greatest prior to an abortion and that there was no evidence of post abortion syndrome. So, that is one thing that I did. I looked for both sides of the argument and see, okay, what are people actually saying and talking about? So, another thing that I did was ask, what does the Bible say about abortion? And I found two sources. They're pretty much the top two sources. So we're going to explore them real quick, and after that, I'll catch up with the comments and I'll have to bail. But ffrf.org, Freedom from Religion, is the name of this website. So more than likely, they're going to have a bias to pro-choice. But that's just me making preconceived notions before knowing a site. So anyways, they say that God is not so pro-life. And pretty much to skip through, a prominent fundamentalist Christian minister and television celebrity regularly proclaims that the unborn child has a God-given right to life and that life is a gift from God and that abortion is the sinful destruction of God's sacred creation. These and similar assertions are thoroughly refuted by God's Word, the Holy Bible. Defenders of reproductive rights should know what the Bible actually says about abortion and by extension related issues, including contraception, the morning after pill, in vitro fertilization, and fetal tissue research. So there are supposed to be 10 biblical episodes that claim that the Bible is not expressing that they are pro-life. So one point is a pregnant woman who is injured and aborts the fetus warrants financial compensation only to her husband, suggesting that the fetus is property, not a person. That's supposed to be on Exodus 21:22 through 25. The gruesome priestly purity test to which a wife accused of adultery must submit will cause her to abort the fetus if she is guilty, indicating that the fetus does not possess a right to life. God enumerated his punishments for disobedience, including, "Cursed shall be the fruit of your womb, and you will eat the fruit of your womb," directly contradicting sanctity of life claims. And then Elisha's prophecy for soon-to-be King Hazael said he would attack the Israelites, burn their cities, crush their heads of their babies, and rip open their pregnant women. That's supposed to be in Kings 8:12. King Menahem of Israel destroyed Tiphsah, also called Tapua, and the surrounding towns, killing all residents and ripping open pregnant women with the sword. That's supposed to be on Kings 15:16. Isaiah prophesies doom for Babylon, including the murder of unborn children. They will have no pity on the fruit of the womb. For worshipping idols, God declared that not one of his people would live, not a man, woman, or child, not even babies in arms, again confuting assertions about the sanctity of life. That's supposed to be on Jeremiah 44:7-8. And then God will punish the Israelites by destroying their unborn children who will die at birth or perish in the womb or never even be conceived. And for rebelling against God, Samaria's people will be killed, their babies will be dashed to death against the ground, and their pregnant women will be ripped open with a sword. Jesus did not express any special concern for unborn children during the anticipated end of times. Woe to pregnant women and those who are nursing. That's supposed to be on Matthew 24:19. So there's a little more in there, but I'm gonna skip through that and go to the next page. It comes from priestsforlife.org, which we can probably assert it is going to be a pro-life website. But again, that is a preconceived notion on my part. And then this pretty much, just to skim through, the Bible teaches that human life is different from other types of life because human beings are made from the very image of God. The Bible teaches that children are a blessing. The Bible teaches that the child in the womb is truly a human child who even has a relationship with the Lord. Scripture repeatedly condemns the killing of the innocents. The Bible teaches that God is a God of justice. Jesus Christ paid special attention to the poor, the despised, and those whom the rest of society considered insignificant. Scripture teaches us to love. Life is victorious over death. And pretty much it gives some sites on where in the Bible and what kind of phrase implies that that's the case. So he will destroy death forever in Isaiah 25:8. This is the message you have heard from the beginning. We should love one another, unlike Cain, who belonged to the evil one and slaughtered his brother. And then, let's see, what else? And then go on and do likewise, do unto others as you would have them do to you, etc., etc., etc. So, as you can see, even with the interpretation of the Bible, which is supposed to be the ultimate guide on how we should conduct our lives, that still generates controversy. And we cannot seem to agree on what side is right and what side is wrong, because this is a pretty complicated issue. And that's why I opt for listening to both sides and being like, in the same manner that I am not affiliated to any political party, I say I am not affiliated to either pro-life or pro-choice. I am in the middle. And being in the middle for me means that I have to listen to an individual case of someone wanting to abort to determine what is going on in this person's life that may drive them to wanting to do such a thing. And then possibly attempt to intervene if I think this person is going to mess up their lives really bad, or if I think this is the best choice for them. That's what I want to do. I want to give people the best advice possible, but I cannot just be blindly saying, oh yeah, totally have a baby, you can handle it. No, we're all different. All right, guys, well, I'm pretty much going to have to bail and leave this here, but I will catch up with your comments as soon as possible. You are right about YouTube there. You're expecting. Thanks, Emery. Thanks for clarification. Yes, Emery, when mother's having baby in between life and death, I pray to God all matters and babies survive. Women are brave, taking the pain, having babies. I like watching you because it helps me get an open mind about life in general. Thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate that. Zemri, don't pay attention. Silly people want to argue with you. People hate to listen to the truth. The truth I meant. It's killing a baby regardless. I agree. God created all babies to be born, but Satan want to stop mankind to be no more life. If every woman wants abortion, their babies, nobody would live on earth. Yeah, that's what I said. If this was really such a huge issue, none of us would be alive right now, because everybody would have been like, oh, I cannot afford you, so I better abort this baby. And of course, this issue is generational. It seems like this would have been highly condemned because people were more spiritually attached, I guess, to certain values. And now we have become so dispersed and disconnected that we're able to think differently. And I don't think that is a bad thing. I only think it's a bad thing if it's affecting people negatively to the point that they're depressed. But if you're going to keep a baby and keep yourself miserable, whereas aborting it would make you happy, who are we to tell you what's good for you and what isn't? No one is forced to raise a child. There is people out there who would gladly adopt. Adoption robs the potential of life. It's just straight up recklessness to have abortion. There is birth control. And again, Some people can responsibly use birth control and it still does not work out. What do you do then? Let's say that I decide to start being active and I do take the precaution and it still happens because that's not a 100% guarantee. What do I do then? I cannot just keep a child, but I will probably end up keeping it. But if I were somebody else, my circumstances are not the same as everybody else's. Zemi, I like the video. It's deep. Oh yeah, I definitely try to make this meaningful. So I'm glad that you're seeing where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to do. Being reckless with sex is just a mistake in my opinion. Just because it's accepted today doesn't make it right. You're right. Like that's the whole reason I am not active. Chopping a baby into pieces is better than adoption. The Bible tells all the answers. The Bible gives truth, but some people do not accept the rules of God. The person's life is so hard. God chose Mother Mary to be born, to become human, and to save mankind. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to have to abruptly leave you, but I think we might catch up on this topic at another time. But I just wanted to put this out there. All right, guys. Thanks so much for